Hey everybody, Connor here. Welcome back for another Pokemon deck profile in the trading card game. And this time, as you've seen, I'm going to be having a look at my Greninja Break deck. This is definitely a very fun deck to play. It's not necessarily super competitive, I don't think anyway. The main advantage that you have is that you're going to be taking or rather your opponent is going to be taking one prize card because you run 0 EX Pokemon, which is a great advantage, but it's certainly a very fun deck. It comes from behind if you don't know what it does already. So let's just get straight into the deck profile. Starting off, of course, we're going to be running the full line to get to Greninja, and that's going to start here with Froakie. You run this Froakie with Bubble, as it has 60 HP. And it also has Bubble, the attack, for 1 water. You flip a coin, and if it's heads, your opponent's defending Pokemon is paralyzed. So that's great early game if you don't get the Frogadier and you just need to buy yourself some time. You can use that Froakie just to really stall out until you can get set up. It's very useful. We're then using 4 copies of this version of Frogadier. I believe it's in Breakpoint. All of these cards. The only one that's not in Breakpoint is a Greninja that I'll get onto later. But this Froakie from Breakpoint has water duplicates, where you get to, for 1 water energy, if you have like Froakie on the active, then you evolve to Frogadier, and you get to search your deck for 3 other Frogadiers and put them onto your bench. This is what makes the deck just, do well. You don't need to run Rare Candy because you have this Frogadier. Just get to search out more Frogadier, and then that will lead you to be able to get out your Greninjas next turn from Breakpoint using 3 copies of this Breakpoint Greninja. It has Shadow Stitching. For 1 energy you get to do 40 damage, and your opponent has no abilities for that turn. Unfortunately, it's only their turn, so if it's something like Vileplume, then going back into your turn it will still be active. So you really have to pick and choose when you use that. But its second attack, you get to do 60 damage, and then if you move the water energy back to your hand, you get to do an extra 20, so that's 80 damage. Some people play that with Muscle Band as well, so that you can hit for 100 damage, but I'm not playing Muscle Band in this build. You'll see what it is later on. I'm also playing 1 copy of the XY base set Greninja, just for an extra Water Shuriken ability. You get to do 30 damage or 3 damage counters to one of your opponent's Pokemon for a single water energy if you discard it from your hand. So this is great for things like Night March. You just get to snipe a Joltik from the bench, or if you really need to build up some extra damage that you're missing. If you get something like a 60 damage and the Pokemon has 90 HP, then you can really just get the additional 30 with this Greninja. So it's really helpful there. And also I forgot to mention that this attack is Moonlight Slash, and this one is Mist Slash. You get to do 50 damage for a single water energy. It's not affected by weakness or resistance. And then we're playing 3 copies of Greninja Break, of course, to evolve into. We primarily want to evolve in from our Breakpoint Greninja, as it has free retreat, which means we get to kind of switch between our Greninja Breaks. This is important as Greninja Break's ability, Giant Water Shuriken, is only available to us when it's in the active position. So we evolve into him, we discard a water from our hand, and do 6 damage counters or 6 damage to one of our opponent's Pokemon. We then, retreat this one into a Breakpoint Greninja, a different one with Greninja Break. We get to do that again, and then we attack. So we can do, upwards of 180 damage per turn, and we have non-EX Pokemon. So it's going to be really difficult for our opponent to kind of fight back as we take a kind of attack from the rear, because you may go down in prizes in first, but you can really bring it back, get a lot of damage on the board and snipe a lot of Pokemon. And I'm also playing one copy of the promo Jirachi with Stardust for a colourless energy, does 10 damage, and if you discard a special energy attached to the defending Pokemon, then that Pokemon or any Pokemon can attack Jirachi during the next turn. It's great to stall, it's especially good against Night March. You can really run them out of energy, but anything else as well, just in general, like dragon decks like Giratina for example is a good one. I think I've seen some people online playing this with 2 Jirachi, but one seems to be working for me because you really want to be focused on getting at your Greninjas. You don't want to be wasting time on Jirachis, but it is still worth the spot in my opinion. So that's it for the Pokemon. No EXEs, just all about building up to Greninjas, and I'll show you my supporters. We've got 3 copies of Sycamore, only 3 for this deck as it really hurts to discard your resources, so you only want to be doing that when you have to or when you have a low hand, because quite a lot of the time you're going to be able to play your hand completely out and then just draw a fresh 7. So while it is the best draw supporter in the game, maxing out 4 copies is just really not needed in this deck. And to go along with that, we're playing 2 copies of N, just again shuffle draw. We don't want to be wasting resources or losing resources, and it's just going to be able to recycle those. We also have 2 copies of Wally. Going second, if you hit Wally and you get into Frogadier, then you can instantly use water duplicates. If you go second and you can attack, it's going to be crucial for your early game. I would like to bump this up to 3 copies of Wally to try and maximise the chances there, but I'm just not finding the space at the moment, so I'll leave it as that for now. It seems to be working nicely. Also running 1 copy of Ace Trainer, so if, like I was saying about going behind on prizes in the early game, this is going to allow you to put your opponent down to a low hand size, keep your hand size topped up at 6, whereas N, if you've already taken prizes, it's not going to be very good to you. So especially early game this is good, but even if you've still got prizes behind, so say you're on 3 prizes and your opponent is on 2, then you're still going to be able to be playing Ace Trainer, and it's going to be doing better for you than an N would. So that's really helpful there. And I've seen some people playing N instead of Ace Trainer, but I think Ace Trainer is still worth the spot. I'm also playing 1 copy of Fisherman, so we're discarding a lot of energy with our abilities, getting knocked out early game, we might lose some energy, so Fisherman's going to allow us to recycle that energy, get it back and keep us using Water Shuriken. And I've also got 1 copy of Lysander, just because it's still nice to get something back up if it retreats, or if we just need to boost our damage with a big attack, or even just stall for a turn. And Lysander is really good for that, as it always has been. And then of course we're playing 4 copies of VS Seeker to get all these lovely supporters back, and we can use whatever supporters we need. So get right into the rest of the items here, as we are playing pretty much all water Pokemon apart from our Jirachi. That means we're playing 4 copies of Dive Ball. You get to search your deck for any water Pokemon, which is great no matter what point in the game you are, because you just get to quickly search for whatever you need apart for Jirachi. So to get Jirachi out, we also have 3 copies of Level Ball. This means that you can use your Level Balls for your Froakies early game, and also Frogadiers as well if you need to, because what usually happens is while you can water duplicates for 3 other Frogadiers onto your bench, you're still going to have 2 bench spots. So if you're not putting Jirachi out, you can have your other 2 Froakies down, so when you're getting knocked out later on you can evolve those Froakies, and it's really going to help in the longevity of your game, because you're just going to be able to keep recycling Pokemon and really keep going. And we're also running 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. Really help search out, or not necessarily search out, but get to the item cards and support cards that we need. And it's really going to get our hand size down for those Sycamores, so we don't waste any items or any Pokemon. And then, like I'm saying about recycling Pokemon, we're running 2 copies of Sacred Ash. Just shuffle in 5 Pokemon from your discard pile. And then for the one-off item cards, I'm running 1 Startling Megaphone, just to discard all my opponent's tools. It's crucial against Garbodor if you run into that, but also just discarding tools like Fighting Fury Belt is a big one, so that you can hit them for knockouts much easier. And I'm also playing 1 town map. You know, we're taking maybe multiple prizes, or it might be hurtful if we've got certain things prized, so town map is great just to pick out whatever it is that we need from our prizes. Then we're playing 1 Professor's Letter, just to search out the energy whenever we need it. And also 1 Evosoda, so we can evolve as and when we need to as well. If we just need that extra Greninja or extra Greninja break, then Evosoda is really going to help in doing that. And onto the tools and stadium cards that I'm running. So I'll put these guys down here. Running 3 copies of Bursting Balloon. Bursting Balloon over, you know, Muscle Band, Hard Trump, anything like that, because most of the time our damage is going to be dealt in 60s or 80s. So we can build up to like 120s and 180s, things like that. And so if our opponent is hitting us and then also taking 60 damage, that's really going to help us boost our damage output and boost the amount of damage it is for us to get a knockout. It's really useful in that way, and it can also mean that your opponent may choose to just not attack, and that's going to leave you with like, you know, your Pokemon that you need in order to win the game later on, with just because your opponent hasn't taken a knockout there. And we're also running 3 copies of Rough Seas, standard in pretty much any water deck, but you just get to heal a bunch of damage. As I mentioned, we're going to be retreating a lot and switching between our Greninjas, so Rough Seas is going to be great for healing damage. Also completely nullifies any Trevenant Break matchups, because you just completely run over them, although you're still going to have a hard time getting things out because we do run quite a few item cards, but hopefully it helps out. And finally the energy, running 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4, so 8 energy. Basic water energy is all you need. You could probably fit in 1 or 2 splash energy, but that's probably something that's more for after rotation, since this deck will get quite a bit worse, in my opinion anyway, since we're going to lose Sacred Ash and have to swap that for Super Rod, and also losing Startling Megaphone. But other than that, everything else stays, and it is still going to be, you know, a reasonable deck to use. I don't think it will be the best, but I'll certainly keep trying it out. So be sure to let me know what you think of this profile of the Greninja Break deck that I have, and I'll see you in my next Pokemon deck profile.